Earlier today, President Buhari has expressed a total commitment to democracy. He wished the decamped members very well. I give you a quote. He said, "As the saying goes, all politics is local. We understand that some of the distinguished and honorable lawmakers have issues with their home states, especially on zoning, which bars some of them from seeking another term in their constituencies." Well, the president continued by assuring members of the APC of his total support and urged party faithful not to despair, but to see the defections as a seasonal occurrence that happens on election eve. Well, we'll see how that pans out in the days ahead. But as I said, I did speak with Kasim Afegwa just a few days before this moment. And when we had a sit down in Abuja, this is what he said about the reformed APC and a whole lot of other issues. And joining me today is Kasim Afegwa. He's a spokesman for the group. Good to have you join us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Well, you know, sometimes you get to see acronyms, you get to see names. Well, we'll be looking at that. We'll be talking about what the R means and how reformed the APC is and whether the APC has decided to actually have a splinter to go out or to remain and forge ahead a better course. But leading up to this new group, the emergence of this new group, perhaps we should be talking about those issues raised by the reformed APC before the formation.
Well, don't forget that before now, the NPDP had made known its intention, to seek audience with the different organs of the party, the different leadership, in terms of leadership, with a view to, understanding and taking some firm decisions with respect to how to move the party forward. But, typical of every Nigerian party, once they become ruling party, this air of arrogance of thinking that we're in power, usually envelop them. And so to that extent, the tendency for them to look down or dismiss whatever concerns you have with respect to issues of party development, issues of representation, issues of power sharing and all of that becomes just more or less like no issue to them. So to a large extent, the part of the leadership engaged with the NPDP and they weren't able to strike a particular chord. So in the final analysis, we broadened up the consultation base and the process came up with this idea of reformed APC, especially when we saw that the convention that produced the leadership of the APC, as it were, fell short of the conditionalities of the provisions of the constitution of the party, with specific reference to Article 20, which stipulates that where you have unopposed persons contesting for particular positions, there has to be a voice vote or a ballot, yes or no. And so the chairman of the convention committee, His Excellency the Governor of Jigawa State, Alhaji Badaru, only asked for yes. He didn't ask for no. So you wouldn't know whether there are persons who also share their reservations with respect to those who were identified as unopposed.
So 18 of them. So you mean voices were shut out?
Of course, that's what it meant. And so 18 of them were said to be unopposed, and it is provided in the constitution of the APC that when you have such scenario, you must give both sides the opportunity to, to speak out, whether they accept that these persons are unopposed or whether they are they don't accept them being unopposed. So in the final analysis, they only said, "Do you agree?" And that was it. And typical as we see them in the parliament, you either have, you say, the ayes have it or the nays have it. You must give opportunity for both sides of the coin, to present their voices in whatever fashion. And so we felt that a party that is made up of progressives, even whose name is All Progressive Party, shouldn't behave in similar fashion of previous parties in government who we condemned, so massively before we got elected in 2015. And we didn't just get elected. Nigerians are looking up to us that we're going to behave differently from what obtained before then. And so if you now begin to witness this kind of scenarios that tend to suggest that the ordinary man on the street is not given a voice to flourish, he's not given opportunity to also voice his own reservations or grievances or concerns about government, then it leaves much to be desired. And so we decided to collate like minds, rub minds with people who share in our aspirations as members of the party, as stakeholders of the party, to say, no, we can't allow this to happen. And so we needed a platform under which we can begin to cohabit and discuss issues of strengthening the party and decide whether to remain in it or to pull out of it.
We'll come back to that decision, and also we'll come back to some other issues you raised. But again, I still want us to look at the very, beginning of this whole issue you have raised. You touched on the convention, which is very key and germane and is still out there. But again, leading up to the convention, what are those issues that these stakeholders of the APC did raise that wasn't actually looked into? Don't forget that you also did talk about some kind of internal mechanism which is always available for political parties to sort such issues out.
The issues are very simple and very clear. Don't forget that the APC was registered, as a major party. Different shades of opinion, different political leanings, persuasions, hues, and what have you, came together to say they were forming, a broad-based party that will cater for the views and voices of Nigerians who have been voiceless for quite some time. And so in 2014, when the APC came together, it was with the understanding of the fact that it's equal joiners. No one is superior to the other. You have the CPC, you have part of APGA, you have part of, you have the ACN, you have some of the AMPP and what have you, that came together and formed the APC, All Progressive Congress, with the underlying, philosophy that it is equal joiners. And so it operated at that level. But now after the elections, it does appear that it was more or less like a smoke screen, sold to Nigerians, so like a dummy, that actually, after all.
Well, so when you say after the election,
after 2015 elections,
it then means this started right after the election.
Of course, because if you look at the...
So it's not a 2018 affair?
No. If you look at the power sharing, if you look at those who are calling the shots, in fact, after the elections, I think the president just, closed his doors behind the party. And whether you like it or not, in deciding who became ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the party was not given opportunity to also make its position known. And under a party-based democracy, the political party must play a dominant role in deciding what, because it's only through a party that candidates can be sponsored for election, as provided for in the 1999 Constitution as amended. So the party plays a very formidable role, and the candidate cannot be stronger than the party. The party has to be stronger than the candidate.
But again, these nominees of President Buhari at that point in time, they all went through the National Assembly, where we also have some aggrieved members who are today members of the reformed APC. Why didn't they actually kick when...
No, you have to separate organs of the party from arms of government. The government is peopled by different shades of persons drawn from different political parties. The National Assembly is made up of different political parties, irrespective of the fact that the APC controls the majority. And so now, after the election, what ought to be done in civilized climes, it was for the party to sit back, take internal stock, and look at persons who have contributed meaningfully in one way or the other, both in kind, in cash, and what have you, to make the success, realizable. Don't forget at the time that the First Lady, Hajia Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, raised concerns that the president's government has been hijacked by faces she never saw during the campaigns. And so When you leave your comfort zone to participate in politics, in a democracy, you travel around the 36 states of the Federation campaigning for elections, it is because you feel that you have something to contribute if you are able to win elections by way of service delivery to the people. When you are no longer, when you are there not patronized or not recognized or not even accorded the recognition, that to put pay to the kind of effort you dispense during campaigns, then it touches at the very marrow of what the issues are. Now, APC, as it were, built the party to a point of political inertia. No activity, nothing. The platforms, the organs of the party were not meeting. As we speak, Board of Trustees of the APC has never met in the last 4 or 5 years since formation.
You say these things. Truly, these are what Nigerians want. But
Yes.
again, I still go back to the very core of, the concerns. And it is to look at these members of your new reformed APC. They had a chance. Perhaps maybe because you haven't actually been in an elective position, that's why you're speaking like this, Mr. Afegwa. Some of your members were former governors, National Assembly members, and some are also presently serving in the government, when I mean in the government in this particular dispensation. Do they share the same pain as to the decadence in our education sector and health sector, not forgetting that some who are in the National Assembly still sometimes don't look towards the budget in that light to see how they can at least get us more money. We haven't heard a story of how a budget has been sent to the National Assembly, and they say, hey, wait a minute, Mr. President, you need to top this up for education and put more here for health.
This is part of what we're trying to address by the Reform APC.
That's why you should be careful, because some of these members who are in the National Assembly and are members of the Reformed APC, they have never for once tried doing that. Instead, what we've seen maybe
if they haven't been doing that, you see, we wouldn't come up with this idea of Reform APC. It's because their voices have become lost in the crowd of the party that was not ready or prepared to listen to them. There are different categories of discussions. Don't forget that they also have interface at their own level with the president. But when they say an action will be taken, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, nothing is being done, you become helpless. It's not every information we have to divulge at the public space. But I'm telling you that it's just like those who say they want to lose sleep over our action. But they are going back at night to reach out to our members and pleading with them to stay. So it's like that.
You're very sure of that?
Very, very sure. We are people.
Because it's same as they call the bluff of the RAPC.
If they call the bluff, did they not call the bluff of the 40 parties coalition? Have they not gone into a coalition with 20 other parties? It's just double standard. But
honestly, because how powerful, or first, how reformed are members of the Reformed APC? Because you have to be very careful, those who join, if you say, because Nigerians will call names and tell you, Mr. Afegwa, you're the spokesman of the RAPC. I know a senator, I know a house member, I know a Mr. and a Mrs. who, over the years, haven't actually shown some of these qualities you have just highlighted or concern.
The mere fact, we can choose to be quiet and silent and enjoy the spoils of office or the spoil of patronage from APC-led government, since we have our friends cut out in all of this. If we're selfish, we'll just keep quiet and begin to enjoy the spoil quietly. But some of us do not have the stomach, to remain silent and watch a party that was anchored on certain principles being frittered away on the altar of greed, self-aggrandizement, and incompetent leadership. It's a simple scenario. And some persons come to me, Afegwa, why are you doing this? After all, the man you serve under as a governor is not the national chairman. I say it goes beyond that. This is not a personality clash. It's about the country. I am first and foremost a Nigerian. I'm concerned, I'm pained by the realities of what I see. We didn't envisage for this. If you cannot provide credible leadership, you cannot provide result-driven leadership, utility-driven leadership, you cannot provide an atmosphere that is conducive for people to pursue their legitimate aspiration without asking you for bread and butter, then you have no business in government. It's as simple as that. And so for some of us, we are paying when we wake up every day, we are beginning to see the high rate of insecurity. In the neighborhood that we stay in, you see crimes here, you see crime there, people are being attacked.
Is this truly...
And when you ask people, they tell you, oh, we inherited it. Nigerians knew that there were problems. That was why they voted in the APC. With the hope that APC will behave differently. Look at the elections in Ekiti. Prior to the elections, they were locked down. They said government house locked down. The governor cannot go out, cannot come in. That is not a philosophy that should, be born with an APC government. No. If it was done during those days of PDP and what have you, we say change, isn't it? We preach change. That means we must behave differently. And now we are behaving worse.
Do you think that this boils down to the overzealousness of security chiefs?
It's more than overzealousness. I think it's just that there is no respect for the constitutionality of the country. And there is no sense of ownership of the country. I keep saying this. People ask me, people don't own Nigeria. We don't own that this is our country. People prefer to defer to their ethnic cleavages, clannish configurations, and what have you, than owning up to the country. When they see, they say, where are you from? I'm a Nigerian, for God's sake. And I want to be so described because when I go out of this country, they say Nigerian, other countries, you show your passport, the green passport. But over here, you see, people don't defer to the country, they defer to those ethnic cleavages. And it becomes a problem if you are not the communicative type. You run into crisis presiding over Nigerians with different multiplicity of interests, different configurations in terms of ethnicity and what have you. And we have a president that is not communicating.
But now you have a new party chairman in the APC, and that's a man you know very well because you said...
No, we are challenging the outcome of that convention.
So you challenge the outcome of...
Yeah, that is part of our grounds.
The emergence of
course, because it didn't follow,
yeah,
because it didn't follow the procedure of the laid down in Article 20 of the Constitution. Go and play back the tape and watch it and see it. You'll see that.
Have you had any conversation with him since his emergence?
It's not. Of course, I've had conversation with him. It's not about me and Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. No. It's about my belief system. And his belief system.
Respectfully, everyone would respect everyone's belief system. But did you at any point in time tell him about or share your misgivings about the article that was not adhered to?
Of course, not even that article alone. Let me give you another scenario. In my ward, as a stakeholder, as a party member, I do not know those who represent me at the executive of my wards as I speak. But when it is time for elections, we are called upon to go and campaign, contribute resources to go and deliver our wards. You deliver your polling unit, you deliver your wards. But as I speak to you now, I do not know those who are representing me.
One would have thought
ditto for the local government.
One would have thought that Mr. Afegba, you would have maybe towed the line of working with Mr. Oshiomhole to see how you can bring, about a change to some of these concerns you've raised.
I think your question is a very good theoretical question. And if I want to pass exam, I will just write some very long essay so that I'll pass exam. But it goes beyond that. It is not a contest between myself and Comrade Adams Oshiomhole. No. He's representing a certain belief. I am representing a certain belief. He belongs to a different generation. I belong to a different generation. I'm of the younger generation Nigerians who believe that you do not have to answer. You do not have to call a cow brother because you want to eat beef. No, I believe that I must take my destiny in my hands to address issues that I feel run short of the conditionalities of governance. And when I talk about governance, I talk about governance that has to be interrogated. It's not just about outcome. It's about processes leading to the outcome. So when you talk about governance, you must be able to derive that courage and ability and boldness to interrogate issues of governance. If my government is not doing well, I should have that voice to criticize that government and say, you are not doing well in certain areas. You are doing well in certain areas. You know, if you are getting resources, I want to know how you apply the resources. If you are preaching morality, please practice morality for me. If you are preaching accountability in government, you are preaching transparency in government, please display it. Let me see. If you are fighting anti-corruption, show cause for me to see that you are not corrupt. You can't be corrupt in the quiet of the night or and in the day you are shouting, oh, I crucify him because somebody is corrupt. No! It takes a man who has a high sense of morality to condemn order of immorality. But when you have a scenario of two immoralities, you cannot get results. So what I'm talking about is that even our anti-corruption profile, we're not hitting the nail on the head. Because a lot of persons who are sitting on the front row with the president are persons who are questionable, who have been alleged of being corrupt in certain places when they have served government before. You raise it. There will be former governor, there will be some former this, former that. What are they putting on the table for us to appreciate, for us to embrace, for us to say, okay, this is the roadmap?
How did the APC leadership take the complaints before the emergence of the APC?
Of course, I just told you.
Because I believe there must have been some form of communication.
I've told you, for us to get to this particular stage, it means that the APC has shut its door to discussions, to negotiations, to constructive bargaining, to collective negotiations, and what have you. So, in order for you to, continue to have platforms to speak to these issues, those who share your aspirations will naturally cohabit.
How powerful?
We are very powerful.
How powerful?
In a matter of days, you see how powerful we are.
Do we have some 7 governors as
we have
members?
Governors, we have House of Rep members, we have senators, we have ministers that are part and parcel of us. And in a matter of days, you begin to see that. You see, because
doesn't that amount to disloyalty if we have 7 governors who are still lurking in the shadows?
You see, I think
and some ministers who are with you, people also still serving in the government and haven't actually come out in the open.
You see, they are serving Nigerian people. They are not serving a president.
It is you.
Nigerians must begin to address our minds.
It is you who thinks that way.
No, that should be.
We see them on national television. The first thing that comes to mind is that they say, "My boss."
That is the mistake we're making, and the media.
Even the deputy governor calls the governor his boss.
You see, that is the narrative we should remove from our body politic. You understand? We should remove that from our body politic because people tend to arrogate all the powers, the whims and caprices of the nation in the hands of one man and think that he can decide otherwise. I'll give you a typical example. The president, for example, endorsed a particular candidate. Among all the aspirants that contested for elections under the APC, which of them did you see campaigning around the country, getting themselves acquainted with the party? None. Because it is a matter of unity list. You blame a party we ousted from office or from power of unity list. You are doing your own unity list. What makes you different? So immorality confronting immorality. How do you explain that?
Off the top of my head, I'm trying to see if you can give me a bird's eye view or an inkling. Let's try and see if we can narrow it to geopolitical zone. Tell us some of these geopolitical zones that have some governors that are with the RAPC.
No, I'm not going to unveil.
I'm not asking you to tell me state by state.
Yes,
just tell me, for instance, South.
The reform. APC,
we have
the reform
one
APC,
or two governors.
The reform APC has members from all the 6 geopolitical zones, strong members. They have people from different constituencies, different senatorial districts, and governors drawn from all the zones, whether you like it or not. In a matter of time, you begin to see how the game unfolds.
So you can make
And
you can actually make the government of the day.
We're already making them sleepless.
Cause them sleepless nights.
We're already making them sleepless. That's why I told you that they have been reaching out to our members, even trying to cajole some of the parties that went into a coalition MOU with us, and trying to
tell us more about that MOU, because now we're getting to see that former President Obasanjo, who had told the nation that he has retired from active politics, he made a surprise appearance in one of those political big meetings. How is the MOU coming up?
Don't forget, somebody can retire from political participation, but he's a voter. That's what is key.
I'm a voter. You wouldn't see me pop up in meetings.
You don't have to pop up, but we will campaign to appeal to your conscience so that you can vote for us. That is the role of political parties. You have to carry out voter education. So when they see your policies and programs encapsulated in your manifesto, they will say, oh, this is the party that appeals to my heart. That was what Nigerians did in 2015, and that's why we are worried that we are falling short of the conditionalities for electing us ab initio in 2015. So all of these persons, whether people like it or not, they call them a movers organization, they call us someone else of names, they say they are not going to lose sleep over us, but at night, they are hopping from one door to the other, looking for those to convince, to persuade them, to plead with them. From the highest leadership to the lowest leadership, they have been moving. Telephone calls, my phones are buzzing almost on a per second basis and all of that. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? But when they go on television, they tell you, oh, they are inconsequential. No problem. I'm a voter. I will deny somebody of my vote.
Is the Senate president with you?
All of them. All of them. In fact, we have taken over. You heard the national chairman of Reform or Progressive Party when he said, we have more members in the National Assembly, and that he can give directive that certain person should be impeached, and the directive will be carried out. That's to tell you the strength of what our APC is.
And as we speak, you say there are moves to speak with your members, some of them to back down.
No moves. They are already speaking with our members on an individual basis. They are moving, reaching out, making phone calls and all of that. But we are not going to...
So in the long run, are we likely to see the RAPC detach wholly from the APC?
Yes, once communication breaks down, we will detach. And that's why we're already opening our doors for coalition, discussing, with other parties and signing MOU with those who share in our aspirations of ensuring that this present government goes home in 2019 because it is no longer living up to the expectations of the majority of Nigerians.
Go home in 2019?
Yeah, go home in 2019.
But if you say there's still conversation with the APC, then...
I'm telling you that we are opening our doors for consultations with other parties that share in our aspirations. And once we're able to concretize all the arrangements, we'll be part and parcel of the process to ensure that Nigerians vote out this government in 2019. We are not hiding to say, we are saying it in black and white. So this is our country.
So the RAPC is going to, metamorphose into what name?
I don't want to preempt the leadership of the
because
RAPC.
You said
I don't want to preempt them.
In one breath, you said conversations are still ongoing.
I said once conversations break down.
But you didn't even wait for that to break down, but you're already saying that people should vote out the government that you're still supposed to be having conversations with.
Because going by the utterances of the persons and leaders of that other group, it shows that they have already taken a position. So it is not left for us to meet at our own leadership level to take our own position.
You have anyone in mind who's going to vie for the office of the president?
When we get to that bridge, we will cross it. But we have so many people in mind who
should
have the competence.
Should we get to that bridge? Should we get to that bridge? Are we also looking at someone from the north of the country?
Of course, it has to be from the north. Because whether we like it or not, it is the turn of the north. It's an unwritten rule.
Are we looking at a younger person?
We are going to look at all shades of person. We'll look at the profile of persons. We'll look at their capacity.
What would the age range be?
We'll look at their capacity. We'll look at their policies and programs. We'll measure them. We'll see their ability and their understanding of the Nigerian geopolitical space. We'll look at their belief in restructuring.
Mr. Afegba, what age range should that person be? Because it looks
the
like
age that is captured by the Constitution.
And you say you have your members across all geopolitical zones.
Of course.
But we're also looking at someone from the north that will fly the kite of the reformed APC.
Very well so.
Are we looking at any of the present governors?
You want me to approximate the powers of the leadership. I do not have that mandate. Because I'm not going to behave like the APC we are trying to reform. You know, the ones that will sit there in the cocoons of their homes and take decision for the overwhelming members of the party. No. Ours is consultative, collective bargaining, constructive engagement. And in that process, once we're able to dot the I's and cross the T's on the issues that we want, issues that we are united on, then we can take a decision. Don't forget, Nigeria is at a crossroads as we speak. Whether you like it or not, Nigeria is at a crossroads. The killings are becoming unbearable. Zamfara is killing, Adamawa killing, Taraba, Boko Haram, even Nedo. There are quite a number of challenges.
Well, that was my conversation with Kasim Afegba just before today. Many thanks for watching the program. Political Stew returns. Don't forget, you get to see this again online. Many thanks for watching.